a demon king slayer with a sword who gave up the crown, Meliodas, versus a devil king slayer swordsman with devil powers who seeks out the authority of Wizard King, Asta. Meliodas is an incredibly powerful character and a great one at that. Same with Asta. And while these two series are popular, they do get that little brother treatment in the anime community. And because of that, and their similarities, Asta and Meliodas are pitted together in these matchups a lot. And I actually do think this is one of the more interesting matchups that I've done on the channel, both in a narrative contrast between these two characters, also the power scaling and abilities that they have. I do think most of the anime community believes that Meliodas would not only beat Asta, but that he would utterly stomp him. And there is reason for that. Good reason too. Meliodas has true magic power, which can erase things from existence. He is cursed to be immortal, and he has the 10 commandments that give him various hacks that make him one of the most broken characters in fiction. Now, I do know this is actually not Meliodas' power. This is composite Meliodas, because he never really had all these powers at once. He used true magic to destroy the immortality curse. He used true magic to destroy the 10 commandments. He didn't really have them all at once. But for the sake of making a fun video and also not having people ask, why didn't you give Meliodas the commandments? Meliodas is immortal. Why didn't you include that? I'm going to do composite Meliodas for this video. Now, whenever you see anybody talk about Asta vs Meliodas, it typically boggles down to this. People say Meliodas is slow, Asta is fast. Asta also has anti-magic that negates magic, but it doesn't matter because while Meliodas does use magic, he also has a very high physical strength, regeneration. Asta would have to destroy all 7 of his hearts, and also he has a whole bunch of abilities. Can Asta really negate them all? But I don't think it's just as simple as saying that. Manga spoilers, you've been warned. This begs the question, would anti-magic even work on Meliodas' magic? Now, typically in versus battles, you use a concept called verse equalization. Verse equalization is when similar supernatural aspects of verses get equalized in a reasonable fashion, so that a supernatural energy that almost everyone in a verse has, which is necessary to fight the character of said verse, will be assumed to be the equivalent energy that the opponents use in their techniques so that a proper fight can even happen. Anti-magic is the nullification, negation, erasure, or stoppage of magic, so just based on verse equalization, anti-magic should work on magic from 7 Deadly Sins, even though it would be a different kind of magic because it is from a different universe. And there are some differences about it, but I know that a lot of people dislike verse equalization as a concept, even though I think throwing out verse equalization is typically a cop-out. Keep in mind, verse equalization is important for both sides, because you cannot say that anti-magic would not work on magic in 7 Deadly Sins, and then say that Merlin's absolute cancel would work on magic in Black Clover. That is verse equalization for me, not for thee. But if you've watched any of my Black Clover videos, or paid close attention to the Black Clover series, you would know that anti-magic has never been an automatic win. Asta has been whooped by magic users. All this means is we can say that anti-magic works on magic, and also Meliodas' magic would work or harm Asta if it was strong enough. I think we need to cover the 10 commandments first, because if Asta gets negged by them, he's probably losing before the fight can really begin, and you can argue that the scaling doesn't even matter. Doesn't matter how fast or how strong Asta is if he cannot resist the 10 commandments. Which effects would he trigger? Which would he not trigger? And if he did trigger them, could he negate them with anti-magic? The 10 commandments are curses created by the Demon Lord. A long time ago, he took half of his power, split it into tenths, and each filled the commandment, giving the wielder not only 5% of the Demon Lord's power, but also a very powerful curse that can be triggered if someone breaks a rule in their presence. And in some cases, can actually be turned into tangible power, like when Mael used them against King and Diane. People will say that because absolute cancel does not work on the commandments, means that anti-magic would not either. And I disagree, even though I do understand the sentiment. Absolute cancel cannot cancel out magic that are very powerful. Since we saw she could not fully cancel out Gother's magic. Since we know that it took true magic Meliodas to actually destroy the commandments, we could see that she never had the power to negate them itself. Whereas we could argue Asta could with his more potent anti-magic, or if he does end up scaling above the Demon Lord or the commandments themselves, then we could say that too. But that'll be revealed in the scaling later of whether or not Asta does. But Asta has layered power nullification, meaning that his power nullification works on people or things that are resistant to power nullification. We know that Yami's Black Moon is power nullification, but Dante's Singularity had a resistance to power null, which is why Black Moon could not negate it. But a level of anti-magic that is nothing to what it is now negated Singularity with ease, and you can stack Asta's power null very high. So just because the commandments are possibly resistant to power nullification, well, Asta's anti-magic has negated things that are resistant to power nullification. I have seen the argument that commandments are not magic, but they are made from the Demon Lord's magic. They are called magic, and they are also called curses, which is another word for magic with a negative connotation attached to it. And while it might be possible for the commandment to be activated while the wielder has 0 magic power, that doesn't make it not magic. Darkness was also used when Galland had 0 magic power. Yet we know for a fact darkness is magic because it's called magic on numerous occasions. It's also reflected by full counter and revenge counter, as well as negated by counter vanish. All abilities meant to go against magic. So if the 10 commandments were born from the magic power of the Demon King, are stated to have energy in them, are called magic, and produce magical effects called curses, then they are magic for all intents and purposes. If you want to say darkness and commandments are just different types of magic entirely, then that would make sense, but anti-magic should still work on them just like full counter can work on darkness. Asta has an ability with his anti-magic called Causality Break, where he actually severs the cause and effect of magic. Basically, he can make it so that the thing never even happened. For example, the father that adopted him was actually poisoned by magic. And what happened was the magic was already gone, but the effects of the poisoning his body were still there. But he actually affected causality and severed the cause and effect between that magic and his father, making it so that the poison never actually poisoned him in the first place. So I think that Asta actually has a chance of negating the commandments with Causality Break. If you do end up enjoying this video, please do leave a like, comment, and subscribe. You can also join my Discord and follow me on Twitter, both linked below. Now the issue with the 10 commandments is that they are severely unexplored in the manga proper, with some of them only getting descriptions from the Japanese-only guidebook that I cannot for the life of me find fanlations for. So I'll be going off of the wiki that had access to the databook and translated it. But really, some of the commandments are going to be effectively useless because we don't know a lot about them. An example of the vagueness of the commandments is the purity commandment, which stipulates that those that are impure will be riddled with illness. We don't get any definition of purity, nor do we see what the illnesses are, so we don't know how effective it is. We do see it formed into a higher power with Mael, and the mist actually shows Gother in illusion. But Asta is a pretty pure boy. I don't know if it's going to work on him. Another vague one is repose. We only learn what it does in the databook where it says that those who fight without rest will have their power sealed away. We don't see it actually activated in the series, so we can't really gauge what is considered fighting without rest. Not only is this basically unusable in power scaling, but Asta is already resistant to power nullification because anti-magic is not magic. It would not be sealed away in the first place. Similar to how Lily's absolute space would not work on Asta, nor can Julius's time magic shut off Asta's like it does with others. Yeah, Julius's time stop does shut off people's magic. Asta doesn't really ever lie, so the truth commandment is very likely not going to be activated, so he will not be turning into stone. Reticence is those who reveal hidden thoughts or feelings will have their voices silenced. I don't think Asta is going to do this while fighting, but even if he does, so be it. Worst case scenario, Asta cannot recall his swords to him if they get far away. Selflessness basically removes memories from someone if they are acting selfish or withholding desires from another. Asta is not a selfish person. He wants to be the Wizard King just to give commoners and peasants hope. Even if he did trigger the curse of selflessness, he might be fine because he's in equal contract with Liebe and he could help him snap out of it and tell him his old memories. For faith, those who show a lack of faith will have their eyes set ablaze. Basically, it revolves around someone giving up their passion for their dreams or their love or trust in someone, and their eyes will be set on fire. While Asta has lost faith in himself and his goal for Wizard King before, as of right now, he is more confident and faithful than ever. He is not triggering this commandment. And if he did, he does have high pain tolerance. He has fought before with broken, cursed arms, holes in his body, and while he couldn't see if the curse was activated and fire was in his eyes, he's already fought blind before with Ki, so it's not going to be a game winner just if it's activated. I also think he could negate it with Causality Break, possibly. The love commandment dictates that those who hold hatred in their heart will not be able to harm anyone. Good thing that Asta is a very loving person, even showing compassion for the terrorists that harmed him and his friends by going out of his way to save their life and doing anything to stop them from harming themselves. I don't think Asta is going to show hate in front of Meliodas. The patience commandment means anyone who shows intolerance of pain will be inflicted with further pain. We don't really see this in action in the series though. But if we do theorize, it should mean that if you show a severe reaction to the pain you receive, the pain will only increase, which could in theory lead to a chain reaction of infinite pain, though not necessarily. For example, when I played football, in one play the first hit on me hurt, and I actually did wince out in pain. But less than a second later, I actually tore my MCL and meniscus, and that hurt way worse, but I didn't actually show any reaction to that pain whatsoever. More so shock. So just because it actually activates doesn't mean it's an infinite chain, but it is possible to be an infinite chain. This of course will be entirely contingent on if Meliodas can severely wound Asta. And also, I do think it is possible that Asta could break that chain with causality break. Pacifism is anyone who kills will have their time stolen. Asta doesn't technically have to kill Meliodas to win, as he could knock him unconscious, and if he is out for an hour, Asta would win under standard battle assumptions. Even if Asta does kill Meliodas to win, Asta has resistance to time magic. Furthermore, the Demon Lord in Zeldris' body had all 10 commandments, but when they killed him, it didn't trigger. So Meliodas would actually need to have this commandment activated in order for it to even trigger. It's also stated that if the wielder loses in battle, it deactivates the curse, meaning that it might not even actually affect Asta if he's already killed Meliodas. Piety stipulates that those who turn their backs or betray the wielder of the commandment will become under their direct rule via mind control of said commandment. If it is literally just place your back to piety and it makes you a slave, there's a good chance that Asta can trigger it, but Asta does have resistances to mind manipulation, as he has negated multiple mind control spells with anti-magic. Like with the mind controlled kids in the cave, he negged a mind spell on the Eye of the Midnight Sun that blocked their memories, and he also resisted Lucius's soul magic. In Black Clover, the soul is made up of the mind, life energy, and magic power, which means it's entirely possible that Asta could resist the curse of piety with the anti-magic energy surrounding him and protecting him. Though I do believe it is the most problematic one for him to deal with. But as I said, because the commandments are curses, Asta has shown to negate curses, I do believe that it's very possible he could negate the triggering of the effects. And one thing to keep in mind is that it seems once one has all 10 commandments, they are no longer passive. This means that they're not all going to be active at once. This is because when the Demon Lord Meliodas and Demon Lord Zeldris had all 10, despite many conditions of triggering, none triggered. I think it's because it leads to a paradox, as the rule is a commandment wielder is resistant to all commandments, but their own. But that means if you have all 10, you both resist and don't resist all 10 commandments at once. It would probably work like the way we saw with Mael, where he had to actually selectively activate the commandments. It is possible that Meliodas could also turn the commandments into direct spells that can just use the effects like an attack without them needing to be triggered. Now that we have the commandments out of the way, let's go over Meliodas' other abilities as well as his speed and strength. As I said earlier, this version of Meliodas has a curse that makes him immortal, as he'll just be brought back if he is killed. Meliodas is a demon with superhuman characteristics and a whole lot of magic powers and abilities. Because Meliodas is a high-ranking demon, you must actually destroy all 7 of his hearts to actually kill him. Otherwise, if you don't destroy all 7, he's not dead and he will recover. He also has good level of regeneration, easily regenerating limbs, holes in his body, or even from decapitations. The only bad thing about demon regeneration is that even if the body heals, the damage remains, so the more they regenerate, the weaker the demon becomes. Meliodas also has the ability to manipulate darkness to grant him wings, and even form weapons out of it, and even coat his weapons as well. All demons have Hellblaze that grants them black fire that is strong enough to negate healing, as it has left scars even on Bon, even though he's regenerated from being vaporized, and will continuously burn until it turns the target into embers. All demons, including Meliodas, has the ability to rip out people's souls and eat them, taking that power for themselves. Meliodas' most famous ability is Full Counter. Full Counter is simply an ability that he can use as long as he has a weapon in his hand and is fast enough to react to the attack of his opponent. If he can react, then he will send the attack back at the opponent with many more times the original power. He has variations of these abilities called Counter Vanish, which shuts off the magic he aims at, and Revenge Counter, where Meliodas actually stores up the magical power of the attacks that are launched at him. He takes them and then unleashes it all back at his opponents in an explosion of power. With Meliodas' sacred treasure, the sword Losfane, he can create up to 6 clones of himself, but at the cost of them being weaker than his original self, but still giving him a pretty big advantage in battle. And while the clones are far weaker than him, they seem to have around the same speed, so it actually is still pretty effective in battle, as he can spam full counters with his clones. If Meliodas has all 10 commandments, technically the Demon Lord will have taken over his body. But let's say Meliodas' willpower resists for the sake of this battle and allows Meliodas to be in charge, but still have the ability of the Ruler. The Ruler is an ability of the Demon Lord that is magical inversion. Any magical attack that is meant to damage him actually heals him, and any meant to nerf him gives him power instead. But it does not work against physical attacks. There are a lot of ways people scale Meliodas, but I'll be using the most popular and seemingly supported meta that I see used for him. Some people still downplay him to mountain or island level. There is even this idiot here who scaled him to small country level years back. We know that the Demon Lord created the Demon Realm, which contains a star and moons, meaning that he created a solar system with his power. This is supported because Kath even implies that gods are stronger than stars, and the Demon Lord is a god in the manga. Meliodas would scale at least relative to solar system level, even without true magic, as he scaled relative to Demon Lord Zeldris in base, and Demon Lord Zeldris was relative in power to 50% Demon Lord. When Demon Lord Zeldris reached his full power, Meliodas with his demon mark was still relative to him, and once the Demon Lord actually reached his 100% prime, Assault Mode Meliodas is still relative to him, but he still needed a lot of help to fight. But still, this would be low end relative to a solar system level character. With True Magic Meliodas, he's easily far stronger than even the strongest version of the Demon Lord, as stated by his brother Zeldris. When the Demon Lord fused with Britannia, it took the combined power of the amped 7 deadly sins to be full countered at least 9 times in order to be strong enough to defeat and kill the Demon Lord. Since True Magic Meliodas would scale above it, that would make him many thousands of times above solar system level, and with existence erasure to boot, as True Magic erased both the commandments and the Demon Lord from 2 planes of existence. When it comes to speed for Meliodas, it's pretty impressive. At the very least, he's faster than light, as the goddesses use an ability called Arc, which is stated to be light on numerous occasions and is even made of light particles, which light particles are photons. This would mean that even weaker goddesses that use Arc would be at least light speed, thus the Archangels would all be far faster. The only issues is that there are a lot less inverse multipliers and statements for 7 deadly sins without calc stacking the speed. But still, he's easily dozens to 100 times the speed of light, probably even faster. I just have not seen a good speed calc that gets him there, but if you guys know of one, drop in the comments and I'll definitely look into it. Now for Asta's speed, we see that Meliodas' fire attacks were calculated to move at 16 times the speed of light, and Asta moved so much faster than them in his base form in the Elf arc that he was able to move across this entire massive room and the time it took for Meliodas' attacks to travel a few inches to a few feet at best. It would be calc stacking to calculate how much faster Asta was than Meliodas' 16 times the speed of light calculation, but if we just assume that Meliodas is only light speed because she scales to Raya, who is narratively FTL, then we actually can do that. And because he moved arguably dozens of feet in that time frame, we would put Asta at hundreds of times the speed of light just in his base form 200 chapters ago. We know that black form makes Asta many times faster as calculated in his fight against Ladros. It's even stated in the light novel that Spirit Dive gives, many times more magic power, and Asta's black form is as strong as Spirit Dive, making him many more 100 times the speed of light, or even over 1,000 times the speed of light in his black form. We then see Magna actually surpass Black Asta in speed in the mid-time skip arc, where he blitzes a golem that scales above the Asta that moved faster than Meliodas' attacks. We also know that Magna is 500 times weaker than 100% Dante. Magic power in Black Clover is directly linked to speed and power, as when Zora doubles magic power, it doubles its power and speed, and when Magna equated his magic power with Dante, they were both exactly the same speed and strength. We know that Devil Unit Asta was over twice as powerful as 100% Dante because he fought fused Lilith, with just base Lilith already being stronger and faster than Dante. This means that Asta is hundreds of thousands of times the speed of light. That's while leaving out many different other multipliers that can be applied and stack this even higher, but I let those out for the sake of brevity. I really could scale both of these characters' speeds a lot higher than presented in the video, but that would go on too long, and no matter which way you cut it, Asta does have the speed advantage. Light speed is just far more concrete earlier into Black Clover than it is for 7 Deadly Sins, and yes, I'm aware of Gothur's light. I'm not completely against it being light speed, but then again, if you just go by the same logic, we would have to use things like Gauche's light being light speed, and that would again make Black Clover light speed even earlier in the series, making it still faster than 7 Deadly Sins. If you've seen my videos, you are probably going to ask, well, Asta is faster than Meliodas and has anti-magic to negate much of his abilities, but Meliodas is just far too powerful for Asta to actually get the W. But Asta has his own way to full counter the solar system meta for Meliodas. That is, if you just go by the same logic of Demon Lord created a solar system, well, Dorothy has an ability called Glamour World, where she creates her own space. Not only does it seem to have its own stars, with that being supported as she created other celestial bodies like moons, but it is stated to be infinite in size. While this is disputed by Magna, he calls that impossible, Dorothy affirms the endless claim by saying the impossible is possible, and follows it up by saying she will create an infinite, never-ending attack. People argue that Glamour World cannot be that big because it couldn't withstand Dorothy and Reeve's battle, but I find this kind of funny because a lot of 7 Deadly Sins scalers use the fact that Meliodas and the Demon Lord, both being in Britannia, was going to passively destroy it, but for some reason when Reeve and Dorothy do this to Glamour World, it's an anti-feat? No, this actually just gives evidence that Dorothy does scale to a creation, likely giving her high universal universal power. Other things do support this, like it being stated that she actually manipulates the entire space, and that she was actually holding it off from collapsing, meaning that she was strong enough to slow the collapse of an infinite dimension. There's also a lot more that supports this, like 5 characters being stated to have infinite mana or power. I will be doing a video dedicated to the idea of Asta having universal power, where I will be showing all the evidence, but I simply cannot do that for this video. It's just gonna be too long. But even if I grant that Meliodas could fight Cath, who had a fraction of Chaos's power. People argue that Chaos created the entire universe. That doesn't really make sense because it was stated that he was born from ancient stars. How did he create the universe if stars already existed? But Chaos did create the Lady of the Lake, which is stated to have limitless magic power. So this could also grant Chaos or Chaos Cath, and thus Meliodas, among other characters, high universal scaling. The only difference here is then that high universal scaling in Seven Deadly Sins comes from some of the top tier characters, whereas the high universal scaling in Black Clover stems from Reeve and Dorothy, characters that would be considered ants in the current final saga. As even back in the Elf arc, Asta had relative scaling to other apostles in his base, and certainly scaled above them in his black form. I checked my Asta broke power scaling video in which I discussed how much stronger Asta has gotten. He's gotten so powerful that he could defeat Reeve with an anti-magic fart while just in his base form, thus making current Devil Union Asta far stronger than Meliodas, especially with Zeton. Unfortunately, Meliodas could not even use full counter, counter vanish, or revenge counter on Asta's anti-magic because it's not magic, and also Meliodas just wouldn't even be fast enough to activate them anyways. But what about Meliodas' soul manipulation? Well, Asta has resistance to that, as he completely resisted Lucius Sagradas' soul manipulation thanks to his anti-magic. True magic has existence erasure that Asta has already resisted and negated. That is Longrus's magic that is also stated to be existence erasure. He could argue that true magic Meliodas is a different kind of existence erasure, but because true magic Meliodas is so unexplained, it's hard to say what it is and how it would be different. So it's kind of a wild card, like could it actually go against it or not? Asta's anti-magic even has durability negation with Infinity Slash, and regeneration negation as it completely bypasses Dante's regeneration and made it so that he couldn't heal his scar even when it was amped by sorcery science and devil power. So Meliodas might not even be able to regenerate here. His best chance is a tie in which Asta destroys all 7 of his hearts, killing Meliodas, thus triggering pacifism, aging Asta to dust. But this wouldn't actually happen. Asta is resistant to time hacks. Pacifism would not work on him. Also, when there is multiple commandments on a single wielder, they have to be selectively activated. They are no longer passive. This is why Mael had to switch between them when he had 4, and why when the Demon Lord had all 10 of them again, none of them activated in his final battle with the Sins, despite the myriad of triggers that should have activated them. Since Asta is stronger than True Magic Meliodas and also has magic negation, he might be able to destroy the Immortality Curse with Causality Break, and thus negating Meliodas' immortality. Asta has been destroying curses since the beginning of the series, but I'm actually not sure if Asta can just do it. Because then, why didn't he break the Heart Queen's curse? But since we do know it just takes Demon Lord levels of power to destroy the curse, and I have Asta scaling above the Demon Lord, then it should destroy immortality. But if you have Asta weaker than the Demon Lord, then he may not be able to destroy it, as Causality Break seems to be less effective against curses that have taken root for a long time. Asta shouldn't need to kill Meliodas to win this though, as he can just overload his regeneration with his superior power, and Meliodas will eventually be knocked unconscious. I know a lot of people will mention that Meliodas has incredibly high physical strength, and that means he would actually be a major advantage over Asta, who uses anti-magic, which is weak to physicals. But that's not really true. Asta isn't weak to physical strength, it just means his anti-magic will not negate it. Asta still has attack potency. See, anti-magic doesn't actually negate the force of the magic, only the magic itself. That means if Asta actually negates the force of a magic attack, that's his own attack potency doing it. We see this level of a Black Divider working on Zagrid, who is far stronger than Reeve or Dorothy, yet in the Spade Saga, we would see Asta lose his anti-magic power in a Devil Binding ritual and forced to fight Liebe with 1 arm and no anti-magic power. Yet we see him constantly counter the attacks of Liebe, who's not only using more anti-magic power than was used against Zagrid, but also his anti-magic is true anti-magic. So there's actually a chance that Asta with 0 anti-magic still has better physicals than Meliodas. The Ruler is an ability of the Demon Lord that is magical inversion. Any magical attack that is meant to damage him actually heals him, and any meant to nerf him gives him power instead. Since Asta's power is not technically magic, then anti-magic attacks should still both hurt and weaken Meliodas here. But even if you don't think it does, Ruler does not work on physical attacks, meaning that Asta uses reinforced punches or sword slashes, then it will bypass the Ruler by attacking physically. So I do believe that Asta does win this battle. But let's not downplay how busted Meliodas is, far above Solar System level. That means he could kill Perfect Cell with a flick, and has way better abilities to boot. Now I know that there is a lot more that could be said about both Asta and Meliodas, as they have way more abilities and more metas that could be discussed, but I couldn't fit it in the video. Instead, I'll be releasing a full addendum to this video for members only, so join if you want to see that video, my entire back catalog, and more videos coming weekly. And I actually do believe that the Sins verse has more potential to grow stronger than Black Clover. Chaos is a complete wild card. I won't be surprised years from now when I do Paladin Lucius versus Chaos Arthur, that Arthur is actually the one to put the Evil Wizard King on a t-shirt. But thanks for watching, everybody. If you have any other Sins video ideas, drop them down below. If you did enjoy, like, comment, subscribe, join my Discord, and follow me on Twitter. Hope you guys all have an amazing day. Peace out.